Is your fandom being exploited? If you've ever wondered that, the answer is... yeah, probably. You don't have to just take my word for it though. Not when there's a video game industry that's more than happy to demonstrate it every single day. So a few weeks ago, we debuted a claw sonar, just something to help when filming in front of the camera is difficult. Lobsterling, a little animated lobster that my editor Z-Manzilla did, and that was really popular. Really popular. Popular to the point where some people are requesting the lobster take over on a full-time basis. And I just want to say that it is the most me thing ever that I am being made redundant by me. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to beg Stephanie Sterling for a job. Hello, Stephanie. If you are watching this, you're doing the final edit, and I just want to say, please don't fire me. I've still got so much to give. I can do lobster stuff as well. Look. If you want lobsters, you bitch, I've got lobsters for days. See? Look, adorable lobster that I haven't fucked. Bitch, I'm gonna take your job. Anyway, speaking of redundancies, let's talk about the game industry. I guess I better talk about the latest marriage between foot and mouth brought together in Randy matrimony. I didn't want to ever mention Randy Bo Bandy again because somehow the jammy bastard has acquired hair of such luxury that I've been seething ever since he debuted it. That head and shoulders motherfucker. Like, what the fuck are you doing with all of that hair, Randy? I'm out here doing what I can with hormones and root spray and you just swan around like you walked off the set of a Vidal Sassoon commercial.
I'm sure that with beautiful hair like that, you probably have to pop up a mountain, don't you? And find a stream and dip it in and flick it about the place.
Randy? With which demon did you consort? Randy! Anyway, Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford is fairly notorious for creating controversy with his generally disagreeable and, well, a PR department would say ill-advised comments.
My mom loves me, she's proud of me.
With Borderlands 4 on the horizon, Randy's been talking again, and the latest storm in a twink cup concerns not only a subject that quite precisely disgusts me, but in saying the quiet part out loud, he really shone a light on how the mainstream game industry views its audience. For the most part, this isn't actually about Bo Bandy. I've no particular enmity for the guy anymore, just envy, that fancy follicled fuckfeast. No, it's about the mainstream industry's incoming and wholly undeserving $80 price hike and the overwhelming sense of entitlement that comes with it. Essentially, we're going to be talking about how the game industry is Randy. Like, well up for it. It's looking like, only 5 years after raising game prices, in the middle of a global pandemic that saw the largest transfer of wealth in history and enriched the already rich at the expense of everybody else, so-called AAA games are going to treat themselves to another price hike. $70 for games that are of lower quality than they used to be and more monetized than ever just isn't enough for companies that pay their executives millions of dollars in bonuses. God, and it's not like all those mass layoffs cut enough cash to perpetuate the myth of forever growth. Where could they find a couple mil? Following the example Nintendo set with its Switch 2 pricing, as I and other critics warned, the industry at large is getting ready to make $80 the standard base price. And yeah, they'll still be full of battle passes and other predatory markups. Why are they doing this? Why, during a time of increasing poverty and a rapidly rising cost of simply staying alive, are companies headed up by millionaires and billionaires hiking the price of video games? Why do that with a product that, let's face it, is barely afforded at half the price and simply isn't more important than scraping together enough cash for food, power and rent? The answer ain't pretty. Apologists will tell you it's all about the tariffs, despite the fact that publishers have wanted to do this for a long time. In the 2000s, Activision CEO Bobby Kotick quote-unquote joked that he'd raise game prices if he felt he could get away with it, and demonstrated how serious he really was with a subsequent decade plus of financial predation. I'll say this, remember this excuse if those tariffs ever collapse and go away like they fucking well should. Remember it, because I want to see how many publishers drop prices back down should the economy ever settle. Something tells me the answer will be fucking none. As I said when Nintendo first had the audacity to slap an $80 price tag on things, tariffs are just an excuse for an industry that has been salivating at the idea of GTA 6 having a $100 price tag and ushering in a new era of AAA for triple digits. The report of that executive wank fantasy came out ages before America's Mad King torpedoed everything, and of course the base price of mainstream games has been just that for nearly 20 years. A base price, the shell price of a deliberately incomplete game that pretty much does cost in excess of $100 once you buy all the add-ons that used to just be in video games as part of the product. So yeah, don't believe any bullshit you hear about tariffs. While I've no doubt they're making things worse, because obviously they are, publishers were already making money hand over fist. They don't need to do this, and I can gesture vaguely to my 10 years of industry criticism for further demonstrations of game corporations being motivated entirely by avarice and the ruinous pursuit of company growth. So why are they doing this? You know why. It's the same reason for every destructive thing they've done to the medium of video games. Because they can. That's it. That's the beginning and the end of the reason. Randy Pitchford admitted it. A Borderlands fan on Twitter, which has only ever been called Twitter, urged the pitchman not to join the $80 feeding frenzy, saying, "Randy, this game better not be $80, don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increase of the price tag. You are the CEO, you have some say with the price when it comes to your publisher." This prompted Randy Pants to respond with, A, not my call, B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991, when I was just out of high school working minimum wage at an ice cream parlour in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen. Was it living with your parents? We'll ignore the stunningly out-of-touch Sega Genesis anecdote that, like every back-in-my-day argument justifying modern pricing, fails to note how much further money went back in the 90s, before recessions and disasters and unchecked corporate greed annihilated a generation's prospects. The important bit is the phrase that more or less admits the entitled contempt with which publishers view their customers. If you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. He's tried unconvincingly walking the statement back a bit, which is ironic because it's probably the most honest thing he's ever said. A sincere expression of expectation that a game publisher can do pretty much whatever the fuck it likes, and the people who love their games are going to gratefully accept it. It may seem beyond belief that game publishers are about to make games even less affordable when so much of their core audience is trying to cope with explosive costs of being alive, but it all makes sense when it's viewed through the blinkers of the executive class. If you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. That's real get a second job to afford a PS3 energy. They simply don't expect this to ever bite them in the ass. They believe their products are so important to their fans, they'll starve, they'll accrue debt, they'll do whatever it takes to get the latest one. And if that sounds unreasonable to you, well, you're not a real fan. You don't deserve to say you love a game if you're not prepared to harm yourself for it. Do whatever it takes. That is what they're demanding, that is what they expect as standard. I've compared game publishers to exaggerated media depictions of drug dealers in the past, getting customers hooked and then jacking up the prices to keep them indebted, and just like before, game publisher attitudes prove that it's exactly how they think. Hell, they even design their games to be addictive, to dole out dopamine hits for wads of premium currency. Game publishers make cartoon drug dealers look positively altruistic.
You're goddamn right.
And they know they can get away with it because the real fans will make it happen. They'll let it happen. This isn't just taking fans for granted. It's genuinely quite sick. The sheer lack of compassion horrifies me, but everything executives have done makes complete sense when you understand that they expect your loyal, selfless compliance with all of it. In their minds, they have what you need, they hold all the cards, and paying the price is your problem, not theirs. You're not a customer to them, you're a mark.
Oh, hi, Mark.
And your enthrallment to their dopamine factories is a license to exploit you, abuse you, actively hurt you if they can. And if you think I'm being hyperbolic, you've forgotten how games like FIFA are designed explicitly to target vulnerable users, and publishers like EA have never once felt the need to address how many people their calculated tactics have swindled into huge amounts of debt. But hey, it's not like the players who realised all too late that they'd lost thousands of dollars on obfuscating incremental purchases are real people, right? They're fans. They can take it because they're fans. They can make it happen because they're fans. Fuck them, right? Because they are fans. Fuck them. That's the thing about corporate loyalty. The more you have their backs, the more happy they are to stab yours. Not to big up games I personally work on, but I must once again express how fucking proud I am to work with studios who are proving that kindness can turn a profit, and confusing the corporate trend chasers who try to copy their mechanics but not their models. Every time I meet with Ponkel, I leave feeling a little more hopeful that good things can happen in this depressing business. You'll have no idea exactly how unmotivated by money Ponkel is. Even by indie dev standards, I've been surprised at times by how singular its drive is. Be fun. That's it. That's the model driving one of the most successful studios going. It's antithetical to the business, and business is good. Of course, I'm not saying it's that easy. Being successful in games is really, really hard. But you know, desperately raising prices and monetizing every aspect of a game and bandwagoning on live service bullshit to keep spinning the plates on a grift that relies on manufacturing the illusion of a company growing forever is looking a lot fucking harder these days than just making a fun, affordable game. How many million copies did Claire Obscure sell? We're up to 2 million, right? For an independent game that costs less than $60 and looks more amazing, breaks far less, and offers so much more content than so-called AAA games that want to charge twice as much. But a game succeeding on its own terms with the goal of offering true value for money isn't going to sustain those millionaire executives' salaries, is it? It's not going to please a volatile cult of childish leeches who have the temerity to refer to their one-sided money extraction as investment. It doesn't get you the kind of money you need to purchase the studios who make the good shit and then fucking execute them. And that is ultimately why a publisher will tell you success is not so simple as just making and selling good games, despite the wealth of proof that it can be. Not because games are too expensive to make like their propaganda has always claimed, but because executives are too expensive to pay, investors are too expensive to please, and studios are too expensive to fucking eradicate. I'm never, ever going to entertain an excuse from a corpo again, not in a way that affords it even accidental shreds of dignity. I'm not accepting a single justification from companies whose products are being humiliatingly shown up by games with far fewer resources and far more quality in every department. And I have nothing but disgust, actual visceral disgust, for the executives who have spent decades dismantling developers, destroying jobs, and warping the game industry into a fucking death world where anything that can still manage to flourish is descended upon and burned the fuck down. Fuck you, you fucking creatures! So anyway, if you pirate an $80 game, that's cool. Executives might whine about meeting their financial goals about it, but hey, if they're real executives, they'll find a way to make it happen. The horrible little ghouls always do.
Wait, hold up. I noticed something while I was editing, and I promise I won't make a habit out of these interruptions, but it's bugging me, and I want to mention it. So, the IGN article about Randall McPitchfarts walking his statement back includes a bit where he acknowledges a tweet from a Borderlands streamer, in which said streamer copied a Handsome Jack parody generated by ChatGPT. Pointing this out because the article credits both the streamer and the person who wrote the prompt, but you know who isn't credited? The people whose work was ripped off to make this fakakta gizmo. Now I know what some of you are saying. Zilla, stop interrupting Zilla. I want to see the panda dance. Relax, it's coming. I want to address the chuckleheads behind you who are asking, well, if it was to credit them, then where does it end? Do we credit the OpenAI programmers, or the keyboard manufacturer, or the people who gave birth to Hedy Lamarr? Yeah, good point, Scarecrow. A line should be drawn somewhere. But I would argue that if the person typing a prompt into ChatGPT is on the inside of the line, then the people who actually did the creative work to make that possible should be there too. And yeah, how does one separate out whose individual quantum of stolen influence made this prompt possible? Which just brings us back around to why AI is such an ethical sack of fart biscuits in the first place. The creatives aren't getting paid, they aren't getting acknowledged, and if this article's implications are to be believed, they aren't even getting the baseline respect we afford streamers and teleprompters. Think about that. If someone at IGN failed to cite those fellas, there'd be complaints out the wazoo about doing a bad journalism. So I just felt compelled to point that out and give a little of that same energy to my fellow brush jockeys, wordsmiths, and jamstronauts. As far as I'm concerned, you deserve at least as many kudos as a ChatGPT end user. Okay, thanks for indulging me, and thank you for your time. I'll go ahead and start the dance bump over. Guilty confession, I dance along with it too. It's such a fun song. Okay, sorry. Hit and play. The bandity dance. And I'm shaking my tush. Funky Panda.
Aside from the fact that they absolutely can be blamed and should be blamed whenever, you almost couldn't blame executives for thinking that the gamers will accept anything and everything thrown at them, because historically, the gamers have accepted anything and everything thrown at them. I have been attacked in the past quite nastily for refusing to forget that Ubisoft, for example, never answered to any real responsible degree for the sexual abuse that took place under the watch of people who are still in charge over there. And despite there being reports that workers still don't feel safe there. And yet, I'm the arsehole for bringing it up, because it's a dead horse, and because people don't want to feel guilty when they play the latest Far Cry, which, isn't what I want to do. I don't want to make people feel guilty, I just want to make people aware. And if being aware makes you feel guilty, then maybe you should examine that rather than shooting the messenger, Anyway, the point is, whether it was the abuse or the microtransactions, the DLC, the monetization, the predation, the layoffs, the studio closures, all of it, there are far too many people who are happy to take it. And I'm not saying boycott things. I'm not playing anything Microsoft published while they're doing the whole, war crime supporting thing. But that's for you to decide. I'm not here to tell you what games to buy, what games not to. I'm just here to make you aware of all of the shit that's going on. And it's not a nice job, but some lobsters have to do it. Thank Claude for me.